Okay, I think we're live. Just gonna double check that now, just to make sure. But yeah, hopefully that should be.
I'm not seeing it yet.
Yeah, it takes. I think there's like a 30-second delay, isn't there? So I'm gonna try and be entertaining for people in case it is actually live. Um, settings. Oh, that sounds like, I think based on the comments, it looks like we're live. I'm just gonna refresh that and just to be doubly sure. Yeah, it looks like we're live. Great, awesome. Wow. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the World of Brickfilms podcast. I'm your host, William of ASW Studios. Joining with us as always is my good friend and co-host, Sean Willis of Silly Penta.
Oh, here we are on camera.
Yeah, hello, everybody. It's once again, we're doing another live stream special of the World of Brickfilms podcast for the BRAWL 2024 results. We've got 4 guests with us today, all from the top 5. So starting off, we've got Alan Williams of Formal Lens, who's
Hello.
the 5th place winning entry. Hello. We've also got Starbrick Studios, the 4th place entry of BRAWL 2024.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We've also got Solomon Manning, the 3rd place winning entry.
Hi there, thanks for having me.
And the 1st place winner, who's making his 2nd appearance on the podcast, that is Aero Nomad.
Hello, hello.
Hello, yeah. So,
And of course, we did ask Stanley Kubrick as well, but not everyone is inclined to sort of put themselves out there in this manner, and that's okay. We understand that for like when we're asking people if they want to be on the podcast or not.
yeah, that's Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, I think that obviously we will be talking a lot about Stanley's film anyway later on, so I'm looking forward to that. But absolutely, yeah. But yeah, obviously it's congratulations to to everyone who placed in in the top 25, of course, but also for you guys for being in the top 5. It's actually kind of really cool that we're doing this when I think this is probably like the most we've had of like new guests who haven't been on the podcast before. So 3 of you, I don't believe, have been on before. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. It's definitely an honor to be here.
And I was really happy to see 2 out of 3 of the top 3 had never been in the top 3 before. Sullivan Manning did a really good entry last year as well. It was just outside the top 10. So it's nice to see the jump there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
That was one of my favorite ones. We'll get to it, but yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I feel like there's quite a few from this year that seem to have a few that have kind of placed before, but have like gone up the ranks a little bit and placed higher, which is really cool to see. And it's always really nice to see returning entrants and yeah. So I actually just got through to watch. I got as far as the top 20 again, just before we started the stream, and there's such a really strong lineup. There were some I really enjoyed, even in like sort of that weren't in top 10. So obviously we'll be talking a little bit about those as well. Obviously we won't go like full in depth with like every single entry, but we'll talk about some of them, of course. But there's some really so it's a really strong year, and like the top 10 is crazy. Like generally, like
Yeah, it was strong quality in the higher ranking entries, yeah.
and obviously it's kind of crazy having a film like, obviously we'll talk about it more later, but like a film like Heck of a Day, which it's kind of one of those films that makes you kind of think like, how is this even possible? I know we said that before with your Thak film for 2023. It's like you changed the way that people saw Thak in some way today. It's like the game changer Thak film, and now we've got like a game changing BRAWL entry, which is
Yeah. I mean, I've been telling people like this is definitely my upper limit for any of these contests, especially especially Brawl. So you will not see something further than this from me.
Yeah. Well, now you can say that you've placed first in Brawl, so yeah, you have no obligation to do it again.
Yeah, but that's like,
Do you come to think of it, I guess Twickabrick must hold the record for most Brawl wins. Has anyone else ever done it more than once?
it's a good question.
I'll scroll through. Yeah, Twick 3 times,
Wow.
and yeah, I think
wow.
that they're the only people who've done it more than once.
It's impressive.
Yeah, so we'll see if that ever happens again.
Yeah, I would say though, like it's I am kind of curious actually with Heck of a Day. How close to the deadline were you in terms of like?
As far as submission goes, I think I like to leave about an hour on the clock after I've done my final export, just in case something is wrong or I need to. Yeah, I don't know. I like having that little extra buffer. I like to be prepared. So it was definitely not like a last second submission like I know a lot of the other ones were, but yeah, it felt like last second.
Yeah, definitely, it's always a good idea to allow a little bit of time. I'm usually submitting within like the last half hour.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that stresses me out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was last year for Brawl, my like editing software crashed like the day of the entry, so like I was like down to like the last hour, I think, and I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah. Last year I rendered mine in 2K rather than 4K because I didn't have the time to render it in 4K.
Last year I had 3 minutes left to enter.
Oh,
Oh wow.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's about as close as you can get.
Yeah, I think you've got everybody else here beat.
Yeah.
Right down to the wire.
Yeah, that's. I think I've done that. I think almost like every time I've always sort of had the intention of exporting it in like higher quality, and then gets to the pressure of like, you know, even if there's a good chance it will be able to be done in time, you can't account for like how long the premiere is going to take to. For some reason it'll take longer than, you know, because it's an extra layer or something, and then, you know, it's when you're down the wire, you feel, even if you're not quite down the wire, you feel like you are towards the end. It's like, well, no, you can't take any risks, you've got to just do it.
Yeah. There's always a chance the render will just be mysteriously messed up, or else you forgot to turn one layer on or something. You gotta do it
yeah,
again.
that happened to me last year. I'm so upset still. I had a whole audio layer that was completely muted.
I had something like that years ago when I did my one Johnny Thunder animation, where it was my first time doing anything with like Dragon Frame and Premiere. And I get to the render, I render it out, and there are just frames from other shots right in the middle of a shot. Like everything's all mixed together. It isn't like that in the edit, but the export suddenly has just thrown everything out of order.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
I remember Windows Movie Maker used to always do that.
Oh, dude, don't even talk to me about Windows Movie Maker. How many of my films were ruined by that?
That's funny. I don't think when the last time I would have used Windows Movie Maker, probably like 2015. Yeah, because it was funny because I mean when I was starting off with Windows Movie Maker, I used to put all the photos on Windows Movie Maker and try and have it go as low as I possibly could. But there was a limit, I think. If you tried to go over a certain limit, it would have like a media offline thing. Like it just wouldn't be able to process.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you.
It's probably a newer version of Movie Maker than I ever used. The Windows Live Movie Maker, maybe.
Yeah, well, that's what
Live was even worse.
Yeah. I remember hearing that. All right, that somehow they made it worse.
That is funny. Yeah,
Practically inconceivable.
That's what I would have had Windows Live Movie Maker. I think I had the last version that was free. Because I think it was like Windows 7 where they had Windows Live Movie Maker. Because I think after that point it was they started doing where you know things didn't just come with the laptop, you know, like with Windows 8. Yeah. It's, but yeah, that's a topic for another time, I guess. But yeah, I mean,
But well, speaking of how we started out, we should talk about who goes back the longest. I think Formal Lens does. Formal Lens, how did you start out in brick filming?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe so. I discovered brick filming for the first time in I think 2009. I was really into the Space Police stuff, so going around on the Lego website, they had all the Paganimation videos on there. And from there, I discovered a lot of the kind of late 2000s classics. Like I distinctly remember Lego Weapons Store and the Bionicle 28 animations from the time, the SX64. What were those? The James Bond and Lego Agents ones. And from there, kind of into the 2010s, I started animating for myself around January of 2011. So I don't know if that's the earliest here, but from there,
out of the newer guests, at least, I think Aeronomad might have had earlier experience, but we've had Aeronomad on before.
yeah.
I think I started animating when I was like 4. I'm pretty sure.
Oh wow!
Which would have been
Wow.
like maybe 2007, but it was like real like simple stuff. And then I think it was like maybe 2011. I really started animating a lot. It's kind of just on and off, but like that's when it started, and I did it for years. And then I didn't post anything until like the 2020s. Like I think it was Thack of 2022 was my first thing that I posted. Well, maybe a couple like animation challenges, but that was about it.
Oh, had you seen stuff online before you started animating yourself?
Yeah, sort of. I think my dad showed me, like, he told me about stop motion, like he had heard of it, and I just really liked Lego, so I wanted to make it move pretty much. And then probably around like it was like 2012, I think, when like the Lord of the Rings sets came out and like Brotherhood Workshop. That was like what got me in to like online stuff. So I just like watched a bunch of him, and then found, I don't know who else I found. Probably Paganimation, like were the two big ones. Yeah, that's kind of what I would watch, and then and Michael Hickox, of course.
Yeah.
That's not
yeah, from
sorry to cut you off, but I was just gonna say, I can't imagine starting something that young, and I guess like obviously that you as you said, you sort of were going on and off with that, but yeah, it's hard to imagine doing something like so that early. And were you? I don't suppose you probably even really remember it that much, but like you were kind of able to really understand what like stop motion was, at that age.
Sort of, yeah. We had like an old like camcorder, and it couldn't take pictures, so I would just press it really quickly, so it would take like a half-second video, and then I would move stuff like way too far, and then I would take another half-second video. I don't remember how it got played, but I mean it was probably the equivalent of like 1 frame per second. So it wasn't like, I don't know if you could count as stop motion, but it was the idea was there, I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, but that is kind of incredible because, like, at that age, I would have seen some of the like Lego Studios stuff, but I mean, I think I would have assumed it was just computer generated somehow. I wouldn't have understood it was really stop motion. And so, what about Starbrick? I think,
Yeah.
as far as being online, you have a pretty recent presence, even though your filmography is gigantic already.
Yeah, I started my YouTube channel in like 2021, but I've been animating since like 2012, I think.
Oh wow!
Like I started when I was like 9, so I think my like biggest inspiration was like Michael Hickox as well, and Jonathan Vaughn when he
Okay.
did like the
oh yeah,
when he started the melting point thing. That was like big inspiration. It was like a film. Like I wanted to make films after that, like proper films.
Yeah. It's nice that we have the contests to sort of try to prop up like proper films and brick filming.
Yeah.
And everyone here like makes proper films, the type that we like to see, we like to encourage. I don't know. It feels more and more like I worry that it's like a, like more and more people will enter and approach brick filming without even the concept of proper films in their mind. Like it just turns towards just viral content.
Yeah, like short tests and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's okay for a time. Like I think of what was going through my head as a kid when I would have done it. I definitely wasn't trying to make films. I was just trying to make stuff move.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
So I think there's a time and place for it.
My earliest uploads were tests as well. I think it's not till I did some Batman one that I tried to even put a narrative together of any kind.
Interesting though how most everyone here like has a history with brick filming like much further back than their online presence. Like, because I mean, with me it's different. Like, as soon as I started, I was posting everything on YouTube. So yeah, it's just kind of bizarre. It's like something you don't even. Well, when you don't have the evidence to look at, you don't think that it has been the case, I guess.
How many other 2007 brick filmers are there that have not posted online yet?
Yeah, that is kind of funny to think about. Yeah, like when will be the last kind of like time when someone supposedly new shows up and they've actually been animating since 2007? That seems to be a year, doesn't it? As well, like that's the year where like
Lego Star Wars contest.
Yeah. I it is interesting though, like because I think that for a lot of people, they may have a certain mindset of thinking that a certain quality of stuff they're making almost doesn't classify as like a brick film until they really think about it and then realize like, hey, actually, if I really think about it this way, I've been animating for way longer than I've said I have, because that's kind of how I feel. Like I often kind of think about me starting brick filming as being kind of when I started my YouTube channel in like late 2014, but really I was starting. It doesn't go far back as crazy as that, but I made a lot of films in 2014 which I like never released anywhere, and still haven't. And it's kind of weird to think about because that means I'm sort of a 10th anniversary of my sort of brick filming, and most of those films are not anywhere. So I am starting to think that I might need to, just out of it being the 10th anniversary, I need to release those now. Like maybe unlisted. Yeah, it's funny to think about because again I just didn't think of that as being brick films until I thought, well, actually they were brick films. Yeah.
Yeah.
A while ago I was thinking of.
Oh, sorry.
A while ago I was thinking of releasing one of my old films as like an April Fool's joke.
Do you know Batman Identity Crisis by Nathaniel Henley, brick film from 2022, I think? It was like half an hour long. It was quite
really
good.
liked that one.
Yeah, and he was somebody who just seemed to just kind of appear out of nowhere. But then on his second channel, he uploaded a compilation of like a whole bunch of brick films going back to like 2009. Just loads and loads and loads of them that had never been uploaded before.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah. So it keeps happening where somebody appears and I'm thinking to myself, wow, where did this person come from? And how have they made something this good as like their first brick film? But of course, it's like their 50th brick film.
Also, I want to shout out to the Chalios Animations in the group in the chat. So he started in 2006, but deleted a lot of stuff from that era when he was younger because it got made fun of. That's a shame.
Yeah, that's always a shame.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I didn't have that experience being homeschooled. I didn't allow myself to be. I guess I didn't know people in order to get bullied. But
that probably explains the correlation between brick filming and homeschooling.
True, actually, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of. I have heard a lot of people in the past talk about how deleting old stuff because they got embarrassed by it. Like, oh, my school found out about it and then I had to delete it. Like, I've met people in person that have had that same experience. Yeah.
I was lucky, I think, because everyone in my school, anyone found who heard that I made these brick films, they thought they were cool. Like, I don't know,
It's weird.
just lucky.
I think like yeah. I mean, I guess it just depends on the school, but I think there was a certain age group where it no longer becomes like, you know, something that people are kind of embarrassed about, but more something that people think is cool. There's a kind of certain threshold, I think. Certainly by the time you get into like, university, it's something people find really cool.
Got to get over the threshold, yeah.
Yeah.
Then actually, I guess I might as well ask, how did people first find Bricks in Motion from this group?
I think I found it through Forlorn Creatures, like one of his Thack entries, I think. And then I was like, oh, what's that? And then found Bricks in Motion. And then I think I thought about doing Thack back in like 2017, maybe. And I talked myself out of it. But yeah, I think I found it through there, and it was always in the back of my mind. I was like, oh, I should join that and see what it's about, and then didn't for a while.
Yeah, when I was into just like 2010, 2011, going around on YouTube finding all the old animations, I found one that was like a tribute to Brickfilms.com. And somehow through Brickfilms.com, I found out about Bricks in Motion. Couldn't tell you how, but for years it was like, oh, my stuff's not any good. I can't upload there. I've got to get, older. I've got to get better. And then eventually started uploading my stuff, like, 2016? But years later.
Mm-hmm. I remember exactly how I found it, but I think I was like looking for Discord communities of like brick filming, and somehow I stumbled on it.
It's kind of bizarre to talk to somebody who is like starting in the Discord era, or like started posting online in the post-pandemic era.
Yeah, like I had no idea about it before.
Especially because as well, because you've been placing really highly in a lot of contests in that.
Yeah, it feels like you've been around.
Yeah.
Like if you had told me that you'd been around since like, I don't know, 2016, I would have believed you, because like, yeah, it's.
Yeah, I think my first FAQ entry, I placed 10th place, like the first one. So.
Yeah, was that?
Yeah.
Was that a Sherlock Holmes one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Sherlock Holmes one.
Okay, I think that was the first. I think that was the first stack that I hosted, I think.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But yeah, sometimes people are like, oh, it's the same people. The same people always rank in like the top 10s and stuff, but it is kind of crazy how it's like you haven't been around for that many years, but you've entered like every single contest and always with a quality entry, and like
thanks.
Yeah, long entries with nice big sets as well. Like I can't believe how you do it for every contest.
Yeah, like this year I was thinking of like pulling it back a bit and doing something a lot smaller, but I still ended up just going for it.
Never go smaller.
No.
I think it's funny as well
because making a 9-minute film for BRAWL.
I think it's funny as well because when people, if people say about it being the same people often that place highly, but a lot of those people, starting off quite like being quite new to the community, and also gaining some sort of like notoriety from being high placing, I think it's, I don't know, like it's like that's kind of a huge part of it, like it's encouraging a lot of people to actually continue to make stuff like sort of that, and it's because actually interestingly, Stoic Studios, you actually make a lot of brick films just outside of the contest as well, like, don't you? You kind of seem to be quite busy a lot of the time.
I'm always working on something. Like I've been working on a Johnny Thunder film since like July last year. I still haven't finished it, so I've always got something on the back burner.
Yeah, I admire the work ethic, because like I know for me, like when I make something, then I feel like don't want to think about making another thing for like months then afterwards.
Yeah, there's like a rest period after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are times that you just need to take a break, you know.
Yeah, although I feel bad about every time I look at how many films I've made in a year, I think, oh God, I wish I made more.
Yeah, there's definitely been a couple of years now where if it wasn't for that for BRAWL, I wouldn't have entered. Like, I wouldn't have made something, you know. And yeah, I think that there is something definitely about the, you know, with creating a long running series and that take years to make for each one. Definitely starting to feel like once I've done with that, I'm gonna just make short projects. I think and just like, you know, for my own sanity, just be able to kind of make just a couple of short things a year, and then also enter contests, and something I would like to get back to doing, which I haven't done for a long time. But
I plan to enter TAC again. I haven't entered TAC in like 5 years because I've been judging every year, and also because I just kind of don't want to. But for the 20-year anniversary TAC, I think I'm gonna have to try to make the effort. It's too special.
Yeah.
I wish I unfortunately cannot say the same, as I will be hosting once again.
Hosting.
But
Well, somebody has to host it, or else it won't happen.
yeah, someone has to host it, and no, that would be interesting because we will be trying to get like, yeah, just, you know, because I think that we'll probably want to have some people who are try and encourage some of the people who are there from like the beginning to be there also to enter, but also like maybe get someone who'd be willing to judge that's also from like the beginning times of the contest. But I am looking forward to it. I think it's going to be it's going to be fun.
It's really cool to see like how people stick with the contests over the years. Like this year we had Max Butcher again in the. Oh, Max Butcher actually placed in the top 25 this year. It's a nice entry.
Yeah, 14th place. Yeah.
Really like
And Rebecca as well, of course.
Oh yeah, shout out Rebecca.
Then I was there, but yeah, only with a meme entry. Unfortunately.
Got to keep the streak alive.
Yeah.
Just how many years is it now?
2014. So that's 11 brawls now in a row.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Plus one from 08, but that's not part of the streak.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, you have to keep up that streak.
I plan to. I mean, I wish I made a real film this year, but at least I made something.
I mean,
yeah, I'm not knocking Despicable Meme, but your entry last year was one of my favorites, so I was really looking forward to another one.
I was hoping to. But the problem that I ran into was I had this idea in mind that with every BRAWL entry, I should try to identify what the previous year's entry was lacking, and then try and improve on that. And so I figured that last year the worst part was the ending, because I didn't really have it planned out beforehand. It was just like, you know, picking it up on the spot. Decided this year I didn't want to start on a film unless I had a complete concept, right? I know where it's going to go. So I just kind of failed to come up with an idea that I had in mind as a complete vision. So I never started on anything. And I was like, well, I haven't started anything, so I guess I have to just make a 30-second meme video just to enter, just for the streak.
So in other words, your entry last year was lacking minions, and so this year,
yeah, I was gonna say that was the.
Okay, I guess you could spin it that way, yeah.
And it did have
could make the one from last year better. An abundance of minions. That's what I made.
And it does have it has an ending as well that to remember, so that's good.
Well, people liked the meme video a lot more than I thought they would. It was a runaway success.
How many views are we on now? Actually, for this.
Yeah, I guess. Take a look. Because I don't really keep track. 12K.
Wow.
Wow.
Like, I feel bad because, you know, the better entries don't have that many views, so I feel I feel like I've been somehow it was an asshole move to make this entry that got way more views than the better ones. Even though it was an
Well,
accident.
it directed people to the playlist, if anything. So
Hopefully, yeah.
there's that.
Yeah, and hopefully the high-ranking entries will show up in the recommended videos.
Yeah, yours comes up as recommending mine in my analytics.
I guess that makes me feel better about it. So
Yeah. Well, this is an ad. It's like an ad for BRAWL, yeah.
Mhm.
But I think it's all right. It's
I'm
like one of those
surprised that
things.
basically nobody commented on like the size of the minion army in my video. There's like
That's
one
not,
comment
like,
about it.
yeah, 'cause those are expensive.
Yeah, well,
Like how much are they a piece?
yeah, they are expensive, but I didn't pay for them. They were
Yeah, of course.
supplied by the Lego Group.
And to breeds them.
He is actually Gru, yeah.
The voice was great. I was really impressed by the Groove voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, whenever I do a voice based on something else, like I do always pull up a video and try to match some inflection. Like I know it's gonna sound like me at the end of the day, but I try to give it some inspiration from the original.
Yeah, you did your best Victor Orban impersonation.
Yeah, it's like just vaguely Eastern European or
Yeah, and also like I guess on the topic of that, you know, you did. I don't know if we've actually have we mentioned on the podcast yet that you know you made the Minion Party Bus brick film.
Hmm.
Don't know if we have actually.
I'm not sure if it came up in the one we did in Austria.
Oh yeah,
Or not.
possibly yeah, because we did the he did the thing with the in the Lego store to the QR codes to watch the film. Yeah.
And actually, that our
That
vlog
was a-
will be out very soon. Yeah, that shows us
That was a
scanning the QR code.
that was a great film. It made me want to buy the Minion sets, which I am really upset about.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, at least.
Got too many things on your list to buy a minion set.
It was kind of funny when the set came out. I saw some like people talking about it on Twitter, like just Lego fans. They were seemingly aghast that a Lego set had a QR code like printed on a sticker, sort of like thinking, "Oh, this is it's supposed to be Lego. Like you're not supposed to be using your phone to scan things and go on the internet. Like that's not playing with physical tangible toys." But then they were like, "Oh well, where does the QR code go? Oh, it seems to go to this video here." And then they were complaining like, "Oh, this video it's using pieces that aren't in the set. Oh, kids will hate that."
That's funny.
I like
It's
that they
so
kept your
funny.
watermark on all of the other Lego promotional videos after that.
Oh yeah. I haven't checked. I don't know if they've removed those and re-uploaded them yet,
I'm
but
sure
yeah.
they fixed it now, but
Yeah, a bunch of other videos that I didn't make went up with my name on them.
That is funny. Yeah, I think it's interesting because being one of those sort of people that sort of you almost feel like you're behind the scenes when you have you're physically looking at this set which the public haven't seen. I remember that when I was doing the Optimus Prime brick film for Lego Group, and it was really funny because I was seeing all these like YouTube channels speculating on what it would look like because it had been announced a few days after I got the set. What would it look like, and it was really funny. Not seeing a single kind of like image, photo online of the
Yeah.
thing, but then like I'm looking at it right now, kind of thing. It's a funny feeling.
Yeah, I saw some videos. Like I think I saw a Just Too Good video that was like, "Oh, there's rumors of this Despicable Me 4 line, and the rumors say one of them will be Gru's house and one of them will be a party bus, etc." And I'm just thinking to myself like, I could confirm that if I wanted to. Obviously, I'm not going to because it's secret. But like, yeah, it's weird to have the insider knowledge.
Yeah, it is funny. Yeah, it's funny kind of having that kind of like first-hand knowledge before like some of the big YouTubers who like their whole like channel is about that, yeah.
So yeah, if you were in the business of leaks, then you wouldn't be getting sent any sets.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't endorse leaks.
Thinking we should probably talk about at least some of the entries outside the top 10 quickly. Usually with these the contest specials, we do want to get to the top 10 kind of within good time.
Yeah, sure. So there's quite a few that I did actually want to mention. We'll give a little shout out to, and I guess we can all can. But one I wanted to talk about is just outside of the top 10, and that is Requiem, which was 11th place by PR Film Studios, and this one is just like a really it kind of is a bit surreal. It goes in all sorts of different directions. Don't think you really predict where it would go based on like the beginning, and it's quite abstract and weird, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. It had some really kind of cool sequences. I thought it was like very funny at times as well, and I think there's something really funny about seeing those stacks of heads. It's just
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things in this.
Yeah, I really like that one too, and like the opera part at the end.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Yeah.
I think he had like a minifigure walking on its head as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
At one point.
Yeah, that bit was really funny.
I've never seen anyone do that before.
And it's like actually really well animated as well. The way in which like it's quite kind of fluid animation, and like the legs are kind of like moving like that, like on the top. That was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly an entry with a lot of like character and just idiosyncrasy that, I'm happy to see it place top 25. And as I said on the results stream, like there's a couple of people who have been entering a couple of contests and now they're like placing, I think for the first time, placing on the top 25s. That's always nice. But yeah, this brawl we decided between the deadline and the results, we decided to introduce the newcomer prize, which I think it might have even been influenced by seeing the entries and kind of thinking like, yeah, the high ranking ones are going to look remarkably good. That the high quality stuff is really high quality. So maybe it is time to introduce a bit of a newcomer prize. And of course, that went to Bilbilary by MS Bricks. And I think it's really cool to see with MS Bricks. MS Bricks is seemingly influenced by Sanjira and Orca Studios. You can sort of feel that influence. And I always love to see people who are like influenced by specific Brickfilmers, especially like more sort of like Bricks in Motion underground kind of Brickfilmers, not the big names, but still people who are like really influential among those in the know, kind of.
Yeah, I really like this one. I thought it was really good, and it's I think that the actual concept of the Newcomer Award is a really great way to kind of highlight someone who I guess is sort of new to the community, and it's I really like this one. I think it's kind of, you can see the influences for sure, but it's definitely got like, I don't know, I feel like it's very kind of like sort of goofy and fun, and I thought it was really good. I'm really glad to see it get some recognition with the Newcomer Award.
It caught me so off guard when they threw up the title card that said Moonshine Break. And they just started all passing around the bottle. I laughed so hard at that.
And then end of Moonshine Break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not at all where I thought this was going.
Of course, I like when people are the idea of like doing stuff low frame rate at points specifically because it just looks funny. Like the
It definitely
just 2 frames.
Yeah.
It definitely worked with like the out of socket animation. Like pairing low frame rate with the out of socket just made the character the animation.
And I think we should mention that the newcomer prize will continue going forward in both TAC and BRAWL. I think, but basically anything that gets introduced in TAC or BRAWL, like it'll go for the other one as well. So the upcoming TAC will be the first TAC with the newcomer prize.
Nice, yeah. I also wanted to... Newcomer prize also kind of reminded me of something. There was also... I wanted to give a shout out to someone who definitely wasn't a newcomer, but Dave Pagano for entering for the first time in BRAWL.
Yeah, Dave Pagano, first Brickfilms since 2018, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Oh yeah, actually, the first one since Little Guys in Space. That's
Well, there might have been like one shorter.
Oh no, actually,
that,
there was that short one that was like the song about Zendaya in it's like a DreamWorks film or something.
Yeah.
So they reminded of
Yeah,
that.
Dave Pagano has been around, but not brick filming. I believe that he lost his studio space because of COVID. And so basically, I guess BRAWL just coincided with him starting to set things up again for brick filming. Yeah, it's cool to see Dave Pagano enter a Bricks in Motion contest for the first time.
Yeah. But yeah, actually,
And of course, with this one is Strange 2, which is like a sequel to a animation test kind of thing he made in 2000.
Oh, I was wondering. I was like, I don't know the history of this.
Yeah. The original Strange, it is on his channel as like a, sort of, what was the series called? His films from the archives. Yeah, it was called From the Archives.
nice. Yeah, you see, I need to do something similar to that, like from the archives, for my early Brickfilms. Actually, I do want to briefly talk about, I guess, my entry, which was Appman Through the Buffer Zone, which is the first Appman film that I've made in 4 years. Hopefully it won't be 4 years until the next one. So I was kind of aware that like it's been a long time since I've made one, so I was kind of thinking a little bit before the BRAWL sort of happened. I was thinking, oh yeah, maybe I should just make an Appman film in a week and see how it goes. And I just about managed to make it. It was probably the closest I ever have got to the deadline. As you probably would be able to notice with some of the all the rigs and stuff still being there and everything. But I'm hoping to release like another version with all that kind of removed. But no, it was a fun film to make. I'm really happy with how it came out, because I basically had to sort of export it, send it away without really having a lot of checks of it. And I was thinking when I had sort of released, when I had sort of submitted it, I was sort of feeling a bit down on it. I was thinking like, oh, I'm not sure if it's any good, but it's whatever, I've sent it. And then I watched it like afterwards, and I was like, oh wait, actually no, it actually came out well. Like I was actually much happier with it than I thought I was going to be. So yeah.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite entries actually.
Oh, thank you.
I really liked it. Yeah, I think it's the first Appman episode I've seen from you, so
Nice.
it's really good.
I'd say the judges probably are sensitive to like rigs still being in the shots or like the sound design kind of running out.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was all there at least, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know the feeling of like thinking that your film is no good when you're submitting it, but then the next day you look at it and you're like, oh, it's better than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, and also there's been plenty of times in the past where, with other entries, like the more sort of complete entries I've done in the past, where I kind of felt like it's getting close to the deadline and you're having to kind of push yourself to keep going, and I think that like I've always tried to kind of hold on to the idea that like whatever you've got to try and submit it, as long as it's like more than 30 seconds long and there is actually some level of like plot there that's coherent. You should try and like submit that. So yeah, I definitely was like, I was fighting to kind of get it done towards the end, but yeah.
Yeah.
There was one thing that I almost did, which I'm so glad I didn't in the end. So for future episodes of Atman, I'm actually going to be doing a different kind of mouth animation, kind of inspired by people like Me Live TV, where the mouths are erased and then I add these sort of like prints over, in post production. I almost did that with this, thinking that like, oh, maybe there's a chance I could do the the post mouth animations. And I'm thankfully towards like just before I started, I was thinking that might be a bad idea because I don't think I'm gonna have the time. And like had I not done that, like had I done that, it would have made it so much worse.
Yeah, no kidding.
I liked how you did the like stylized solid color backgrounds. That was a good sort of brawl trick.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a point in there where I was going to be doing like I wanted it to not be like a white void or a black void. I was trying to think of a way of doing it that looked kind of interesting, and I'm really glad that I did that. So I think that like there's something really nice about like orange and yellow card. I think it just has a nice kind of look. I think the kind of reflectiveness of that on like the set kind of looks really nice, and I tried to add a lot of kind of like animation like in the background, so it's not just people talking. So there's a lot of just kind of stuff which I kind of deliberately made difficult, just so that it was kind of interesting to watch.
I wonder, does anybody else want to point out any entry outside the top 10 in particular?
Yeah, there's one entry, the young Johnny Thunder, and the Picari tile, I think, by Evan JB. I like that one. Big surprise.
I really liked Joshua Armel's entry, The Well. I thought that was a really good use of just like a really short, just like perfect kind of story beat. It was really good. I liked that one.
Oh yeah, it's like a minute long. Yeah.
Yeah, that one really reminded me of Possession, the one I think Dylan Woodley animation from years back. It's got the same sort of tone, but that one was really good.
Yeah, it's probably an obscure one by now, but I know the one. Yeah.
Are we including ones like outside the top 25?
If you want, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Just early in the playlist, there's one called Paranoid by Tomas and Kermit, where the animation, like the facial animation and the movement in it, it feels very like Edbound inspired, but I think the work they were doing there in that animation was pretty impressive. There's maybe they could polish up their lighting a bit more, but even still, like for what I assume is an early entry into BRAWL, it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there are complaints in the community about like Edbound style, like people who sort of only frame of reference is Edbound. But I mean, I don't. This one wasn't just like a direct Edbound film.
No, I didn't mean to disparage it like that. Especially not one of the shots near the end. They kind of use bricks to animate the shadows, and that shot in particular really impressed me.
But yeah, that was really cool. The way the shadow like climbs up the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I try to not get too like because I know there is that kind of thing of like drama about drama, but that kind of people saying about like brick Edbound clones or whatever. But like I think that like I think that for the most part, I don't want to chime in too much on that, but what I will say is that like people are going to be inspired by who's popular, and I think that like I think there's a lot of people who clearly have been inspired by Edbound that I feel like have created their own style over time, and I think it's just a matter of like you find the people that you're inspired by, and then you kind of grow from there, really.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, especially to people who've been around in the community for a long time, I think we've seen it like time and time again. Different eras always have that major figure who's like all the newcomers are at first they're like sort of copying and then they develop their own style. For me, obviously, it's Blunty, the dynamic duo.
Yeah,
all the other people that made the dynamic duos was Blunty.
But I'm assuming we should. I guess we should head on to the actual top 10 now.
Yeah. Well, I guess I just wanted to do a quick shout out to "Living with a Shadow" as well by De Garbs.
Yeah, that was really good as well. I like that one.
Yeah, clever. Yeah. Just fun concept and great use of the theme.
Yeah, nice. Cool. So we'll head on now to 10th place, which was Walk of Naivete by Bricks and Blocks. This was
Obstinarian on the Discord.
Oh yeah, Obstinarian. I'm just going based on the YouTube. But this was a nice one. Some kind of variety of sets and I kind of get the impression that like towards the end maybe they were running out of time a little bit. It was a bit of an abrupt ending, but it was some really nice kind of lighting and just like a variety of sets and some good voice acting from Joko as well.
Oh yeah.
I think this one had good blocking too. So a lot of the shots are really thoughtfully laid out, which I think can sometimes fall by the wayside when you're trying to do something in a certain amount of time as well. So
yeah, there were a lot of really cool shots in that one.
I like how the world it feels like an alien world with the color palette sets as well.
Yeah, I like the colors a lot, and the just like the feeling of it, just the atmosphere kind of was really cool. I like the shot with as they're walking, it's like a little pool with like kind of glowing blue water, was really cool.
Yeah, that was really nice. I kind of like the kind of sinister turn, sort of like the halfway point where like the robot's got like this knife and it looks like he's about to kind of like, kill him, and then he just like he wakes up for that moment and like it's not like addressed again, but it's like, that kind of, the robot's not really kind of not really trying to help him, like.
Yeah, good foreshadowing.
Should we move to number 9?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so head on to 9th place. Which
I know, of course, we'll have more to say about the top 5 because we have the creators here.
Yeah. So you got A Briefcase Conundrum by C Lego Films. This one was like so I love like the kind of cartoony animation and the facial animation, which I've seen like similar stuff before, but it's so well done, like, and it feels so kind of like fluid and it's just like very funny. I think it's got some really good slapstick, and this was a really fun one, and really glad to see this place highly.
Yeah, it really had like a fun kind of like you said, like cartoony kind of style. I think C Lego Films has done like a really good job with sort of figuring out how to. They've done a really good job like kind of honing that style over the last couple months, just that I've seen in the Discord and stuff. And like the faces especially. It's hard to do like the hand-drawn faces where they're not like too over the top, but they hit a really good like middle ground. They're really good. And then just I think like I love the little like grunts that the characters make, and like just the little like the sort of the cartoony kind of like lack of dialogue. I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, great no dialogue film, and so like everything has to be conveyed like really expressively through the animation. Done really well.
Yeah,
There's
like
a lot of little details that like weren't essential. Like when he gets angry and he goes over to a table with people at it and kicks the table and like the people scatter. Like you don't need that in there, but it adds so much more character. It's just more fun to watch.
Yeah, I like the part with the ceiling fan. I think that's really cool.
But yeah,
yeah,
Love that.
it's a
that little
nice
kind of
set,
like
yeah.
detective kind of like setup.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. This is really solid. I really like this one a lot.
Mhm. And again, it's cool to see people like Sea Lego Films and Obstinarian who have started entering contests and are like quite active in the community as well. And now they're placing top 10.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like
Love that.
Sea Lego Films has been one of the kind of consistent like people when it comes to entering. So it's nice to see them kind of go up in the ranks. And I believe that I think they commented on saying that they really appreciated being placed in ninth.
But yeah.
Yeah, so it meant a lot.
Yeah, so it's really nice to see when you can tell like it means a lot to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was well deserved.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, really fun entry.
So yeah, I guess we'll
Nice Brickfilm vibe.
Yeah.
Guess we're gonna head over to 8th place, which was the following morning by Joko. Yeah, this was kind of a wacky, crazy. Well, I mean, what do you expect from Joko? I think it's kind of funny. This is a bit of a tangent, but I think it's funny that the two Johnny Thunder kind of brick filmers, the ones who we expect like Starbuck Studios and Joko didn't actually make Johnny Thunder brick films this year, but
yeah, time for a change.
yeah. But yeah, this was good. I liked I really liked the kind of like interpretation of the theme in this one, and it's it kind of like very impressive kind of animation, and there's a lot of like a lot going on like all the time, as is often the case with Joko.
Yeah, I think something I love about Joko is it's all very alive. There's not really anything that's kind of waiting for its moment to move or kind of inactive. The whole thing has so much energy and momentum behind it that it's so at a breakneck pace, which I think suits his wacky scripts really well.
Yeah, Joko's always able to maintain a real kinetic energy. It's just there's a constant flow to everything. It's really good.
I think it was kind of funny is a group of us, we were just in Austria there recently for Steinerite, and like Yoko has a lot of energy in real life, and like we were climbing hills and mountains and stuff. Joko would be like running ahead and like just going really fast and jumping around and stuff, and we were sort of saying like, yeah, it makes sense that he makes the brick films that he does. But yeah, of course, I'm always greatly amused when somebody just like makes a huge mess in a brick film. I'm known for the wall in Benny and Lee. That's a disgusting mess. But this one is like halfway towards being brick film sallow. It's just disgusting to watch at points, in the best possible way, of course.
Yeah, in a way where it doesn't draw the line. I think it knows where the line is.
It is a little funny watching like this one in particular because I like to keep all of my bricks in fairly new condition, and it's kind of like I go for the clean sort of Lego Movie aesthetic, and this is the exact opposite, and it's great.
Yeah, I think it's I do like how much of a realistic looking mess the the set is, like, towards the end.
I think he said he just dumped a pan of ashes on it.
Yeah.
I like the
On a,
overhead
like on
shot
a more,
too.
yeah,
With the body on
yeah,
the ground. What's
yeah. I
that?
think like on like a more technical level, like the camera movement, I really liked the how reactive it was to what was going on. I just thought that had really good energy to it.
Yeah, definitely
It-
unique style.
Yeah, on the camera movement, I think this is the right way to do it. You know, without pointing fingers, there's a lot of times people will try to follow every single move a character may be making.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
while it has its place, I think, yeah, I guess I can't put my finger on exactly what the difference is in a technical sense. You can just feel that it's much more intentional in a film
Yeah.
like this rather than following like every single arm movement and leg movement back and forth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
think
more impactful when.
it
Yeah,
also it
like
kind of you know, like it's kind of it knows when it needs to be sort of like, you know, there's quite a lot of, you know, static shots and static sort of moments as well, where like it knows when it needs to be kind of static. It knows when like it's the right time to have like sort of like a kind of, you know, added some sort of camera movement. So it's quite sparing, you know, in that way.
yeah, it's a lot more impactful, I think, for it because it knows when to, like you said, it knows when to move the camera and when to hold.
Yeah, actually making some choices rather than just following every single time. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we should probably move on to number 7, which is a very big one, very long. I
Yeah.
think probably I think the longest entry in the actual playlist.
Yeah, the longest.
Yeah.
Which was Closer by Joshua Nelson and Cohort. Yeah, this was kind of
2x4
breaking
production.
the kind of sort of semi sort of tradition that Joshua Nelson and 2x4 have been doing over the last couple of years, of like splitting Brickfilms and kind of, you know, doing a part 1, part 2. This time they did like a one sort of, you know, longer entry, and something I really like about this is the amount of kind of world building there is, how much it feels like a proper, like, you know, world that's seen better days. And it's, yeah, like there's some really impressive sets, and also I think it's interesting seeing a non-Lego kind of protagonist as well. I actually don't know what that, like, I don't know, is that Mega Bloks, or I don't know actually what he's actually
I
from.
think it's Mega Block.
Yeah, I think it's Mega Bloks.
Yeah.
Mega Bloks must have had various different figure designs over the years because it's different than a really old one I remember, but I think it's Mega Bloks, all right. Yeah.
Yeah. And also as well, I think with the interesting thing about like Mega Bloks is that they have like more joints and more articulation than Lego minifigures as well. So kind of interesting to see that. Although I know that Joshua Nelson is no kind of stranger to like more kind of complex figures. But yeah, this was a really interesting one, and there is a kind of a build up to it, but it does feel purposeful. It's kind of setting up. I find it really kind of interesting the way in which it chooses to tell its story. That it, you know, it really is sort of setting up this world and this sort of, you know, journey that this protagonist is going through. It's kind of, I think, kind of implied that this is something that he has had to do in the past, you know, and, you know, seeing him go along on that journey from his van to the sort of warehouse where he ends up going to in the end, and seeing him having to run like the whole setup for that, and how it kind of, yeah, it feels kind of informed in a different way than when he's sort of running away from the big bad monster at the end. And it's yeah, I really like this one.
It was certainly an interesting trend in this brawl, how there was a number of entries. I mean, not a huge number, but a couple of notable ones at least that were like remarkably long by brawl standards. 8 minutes, and this one's 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of wondering if that might have been because last year's winner was 8 minutes long.
Possibly, although I would say that there has been a sort of maybe a bit of a trend in general with like you've seen it with Zach as well. Like people are, I guess, getting more ambitious with the kind of longer entries. But I guess though as well, a lot of the bigger like longer entries have come from people who are have entered before. Like Joshua Nelson obviously has entered a lot, and I kind of feel like it's a little sort of challenge to do. Try, just to kind of get a bit more ambitious, I guess.
Yeah,
I was certainly kind of thinking sort of in a similar way as well, like trying to make a longer brick film.
I know Joshua Nelson did some like live action with like real people stuff before in the Manifest film, the one Manifest. But I do wonder if like the live action with humans in this is maybe influenced by Live Rich Die Richer from last year. And
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
yeah, I think
This
it's
one
kind
is
of
not
cool how
stop motion live action though,
oh, yeah,
so it is different.
But it is cool how a contest winner could influence like the next year's contest winners. Like I feel like it's really cool that even though Live Rich Die Richer only has like 1,000 or 2,000 views, that it could be influential on people who are paying attention.
Oh yeah, it has an impact outside of just the the views. I mean, like otherwise, Despicable Meme would be like the most influential in many years. But I do think if I was going to give like a small critique on this film for the in terms of the like live action inserts, I think that it's kind of funny because it feels like it kind of abandons it a little bit later on. But also I think that it doesn't feel quite as integrated as Live Rich Die Richer, just because I think the stop motion, with Live Rich Die Richer, it is still stop motion. It has the same kind of blocky kind of animation style, and I say that with as a compliment, blocky, but it blends in very well. The difference with this would be I feel as though you go from that kind of the stop motion, like I guess 12 frames per second animation, and then it kind of cuts to this very kind of like much higher frame rate live action shot, and because of that it's a bit jarring. It feels like it's drawing attention to itself a bit when it happens.
Makes sense.
And yeah, I don't know, it's an interesting...
Maybe Live Rich Die Richer kind of has a goofier tone as well, so it can kind of get away with like jumping between styles and things, whereas this is more of a serious tone. So it maybe feels a bit more jarring to like switch to live action. And I'm thinking of like Yetko's Steinreich film that was like jumping between Technique figures and Lego figures, but that was in a very Lego-y tone film. Again,
there was also an interesting I think it's kind of same with Yetko's film as well as with Live Rich Die Richer, where there's like an interesting kind of transition where it kind of has like it goes from like Lego to like zooming in to live action, where it's more of there's like an actual sort of transition between it and rather than just like a quick cut. But I do actually, with that being said, I do want to compliment one live action shot in this film, which was I was sort of reminded of it then because it looped on the stream. But there's a shot when with the torch and it kind of puts a light onto that kind of caution sign, and he kind of moves the kind of plants and then opens the door. I think that was actually that was a pretty smooth transition, and I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I was going to mention that one. That was the best transition for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I like about this film. I think the atmosphere is really effective, especially once he enters the big warehouse building. We were talking about camera movement earlier, and I think this sequence has a lot of good uses of that, especially that one take shot. That's kind of crazy. That's definitely the peak of the film,
one 9 minutes
in my
in.
opinion. Yeah, something like that, where he's like
amazing, yeah.
exiting the building and it spins around the whole building, shows the monster like breaking out and then back over to the motorcycle. Like, very impressive shot. I do think one area of improvement for this one would be the editing. Yeah, I think this would have placed higher if it were shorter. I think there's a few things you could cut without losing the feeling and the atmosphere building, and just kind of make it a little bit tighter. So I think, it's always difficult, especially in a timed contest, to cut stuff you've shot. But I think this one could have been even stronger in the edit later on.
It is
if it just had a little bit more cut.
It is interesting because
I do think this is.
Yeah, you go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. It's a really, really impressive entry, and I love the sets. And yeah, that one take shot. I was thinking, watching that, I was like, wow, I can't believe this is still going. It's still going. Like I was. Yeah, such a centerpiece shot, and on such huge sets as well. Like, great color palette and just scale to the sets. I can't believe, and knowing Joshua Nelson on a 2x4, those were probably mostly built within BRAWL. So like, yeah, I can't believe that. But yeah, I was thinking about saying some of the similar stuff. It's like, oftentimes in the community, it feels like people talk about longer brick films as if longer is like inherently better. And it's not inherently better, and like I like a lot of the atmosphere building shots in this, but I do feel like, yeah, it could have been trimmed a bit. Some editing could have been done. There's one shot in particular that I was thinking of. I know, you probably know the one. It's like characters like walking from screen left all the way to screen right. Like it's really wide, so it takes a long time, and like. At the start of the shot, I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, it's an atmospheric shot, so I'm not gonna instantly complain that it's just a walking shot. But then by the time he's like halfway across the screen, I'm starting to think like, are we really gonna watch him walking all the way until he gets off screen right before it cuts? And that's what happened. So like there are points of which I think, yeah, it could have been trimmed.
So Joshua Nelson's on YouTube has said, I wouldn't make it shorter. I like my long films.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it needs to be absolutely hacked apart, but like there's little points that could just be tightened a bit.
I think it's interesting because I do feel like there's I like I kind of do. I do like that it's kind of like it takes its time. At the same time, like I think that it kind of. I think that once you get to the monster part, it makes the rest of it better as well. Like what came before it gives it. It changes it. Like it adds more like to it in a way. Like even
yeah, maybe.
Like that shot.
Maybe I'm just lamenting the fact that we could have seen more after the monster portion and less before. Maybe that's where I'm like, some of the screen time could have been, chasing that train down, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think I agree there.
On the podcast for last year's BRAWL entries, I would have said something similar in that it can sometimes seem like we come down harder on one of the best entries.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it is definitely one of the best. Yeah.
The purpose being sort of for explaining, like, maybe it didn't rank quite as high as some people expected, and yeah, as I would have said before, like if it's never explained, then it's kind of mysterious. But these would be the kind of things that the judges would be tuned into.
I do want to give a little bit of appreciation to. I mentioned it briefly, but the actual setup, the setting and the builds, I was watching it again today earlier and really kind of just I really, one of the things I really love is like there is a kind of really real feeling of it as being this like huge expanse of like this like abandoned city, and the use of non-Lego kind of elements sort of in the distance has made it look like a huge like just like an endless like line of like skyscrapers and stuff. I thought that was really clever, and I also I think a couple of people I think Orbital Lizard Studios mentioned it in the chat about the monster design is really cool. The way in which the mouth kind of like splits, and that was really cool monster design. And no, it was
Yeah, I mean, I do want to say, like, I do love the atmosphere building and some of the shots, like, abandoned train station, or like there's like the cans or things that were hanging, sort of blowing in the wind, or like leaves blowing in the wind. I love all that, just to set the tone and set the atmosphere. So I'm not saying that like everything sort of superfluous should be eviscerated, just pulled out. But I don't know. I think there was a point at which I was kind of feeling like, okay, by now I'd like a plot development to happen, and then it did start to happen, but it just kind of felt like there was a lot before it got there, I guess. But I also really like when he's inside in the dark, like the shots in the dark are like really nice looking. Yeah, with the torch and watching the video on the screen, and like it's a real screen.
Yeah, that
on the
was
wall.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. That's always a trick that I love is getting a real screen in a little Lego frame like that.
Yeah.
Oh, the wind chimes too. Oh.
Yeah, the wind
Wind
chimes.
chimes.
Really nice. I like that.
I love like how there's like those four where it kind of looks a bit like a minifigure walking.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just saw that on the stream there. Yeah, looks like a walk cycle.
But yeah, shall we move on to number 6?
One last thing I want to say is
yeah.
I love the Brickfilms title card.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
those are always great.
Yeah.
I even had time to do that.
I kind of
had time to do that.
I kind of want to. I'd really love to make a GIF of that where I take away the C and it's just like this thing that says loser, like, and if you start for some kind of like, like when someone gets owned or something.
I'm always just coming up with my contest entry title at the last minute, or even after I've submitted it. So I'm really impressed whenever somebody has a Brickfilms title card in a contest entry. Yeah, number 6.
Yeah. So number 6 is Causality. I think Causality by Nerd and Arts.
I love this one.
Yeah, this one is.
Yeah, when
so
on
cool.
the results stream, I was sitting there hoping that Chris wasn't going to announce it as Casualty. And he got it right.
Yeah. That's why I initially
this one
put it
was
as.
Yeah, this was a really good one. I love especially for like a low light kind of brick film. It was done really well because that's hard to do just for like I think only one light in a lot of the scenes, and it has a really cool effect.
Yeah, really, really stylish looking. Yeah, I'm guessing it must be like a long exposure, maybe. Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite entries. That part at the start where they're like on the rotating thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like Inception.
And then they walk into the inner part, and it's like the upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lighting in this one is very intentional and very good.
Yeah.
I think it really has
Yeah,
like a real feeling of kind of like they're really in the deeper space, and in a really effective way. I really love the that kind of that sort of spinning light thing.
I'm really curious how they did that.
It's got to be long exposure.
Yeah, I think that must be long exposure, like giggling. I wonder what it was to shake around in the frame like that.
I'm wondering if it might even be like a brick stuff light.
Yeah, I would think just a little single LED.
And spinning it around. I can see that.
Because it's that kind of white sort of color as well. Like it's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like even to match the lighting with a long exposure shot and a non-long exposure shot, like that takes a lot of skill and practice and time in itself. So that's impressive.
Definitely.
I also want to praise the anti-grav that you see, because it's almost entirely just, I would guess, just like the figure or the item kind of stuck by tack and then just animated against the background. But it still feels right, like it still feels kind of organic.
It does, yeah.
And there's not really much like visible tack there, so
yeah, it's clean.
It's possible to do, you know, like take notes, people.
What?
It does have that feeling of it just floating there, and like in Stanley Kubrick's entry, like stuff underwater, and I think that he actually shot that with water. So like I think it's
yeah, I think he posted a photo like of the tub, right?
So that stuff all floats really naturally because it's like done for real. But like this is similar. It has that similar sort of real, natural feeling to it.
Are we sure they didn't shoot this in space?
Yeah, I like the shot where they had the mod element just float down the hatch.
That was good. Yeah, this is one of my favorite. Like this is such a it's such a cool entry. Like visually, like the lighting and and that shot, like again, just reminded then because it kind of looped. When he shoots the other guy and like his body's kind of like floating, like in that kind of the gravity effect. That's just so good.
Yeah. I do kind of feel like I have less to say about this one because it is kind of short, but like it is really stylish and it was definitely one of my favorites in the contest. And again, I'm happy to see Nerdnaut be somebody who's like, you know, rising in the contest. He's only started entering recently enough.
I guess it's kind of one of those things. It's a bit like when like initially watching like really good entries, it's kind of just like sometimes you don't really have a lot to say because it's just good, you know. It's just so good. Like
it speaks for itself. You just look at it and you're like, yeah, good.
It's just really good.
That's gonna place high. Yeah. But yeah, I guess
some good Dutch angle shots too.
Yeah.
If we want to move on to fifth place, this is now where we start the in-depth discussion, or like even more in-depth discussion.
Who got fifth?
Yeah, I wonder. Some guy called Formal Lens. I don't know. I'd never heard of him. Yeah.
Languishing in obscurity.
If you want to give yourself a little bit of an introduction, well, not yourself. I mean the film and yeah.
He's still with us.
Yeah, still with you.
Oh, okay.
Remove All Doubt kind of started as a longer idea. Like, I wanted to do something that still had sort of a fantasy tone, but keeping with the idea of follow, I wanted it to be like a person who's having to follow a narrator. But a day and a half in, I realized that I was halfway through building like the kitchen or the dining room set and realized that I was in no way going to be able to get this idea done, so I had to throw it out and just rework the whole thing, like grab new characters, come up with something that I could better achieve in the time. So I lost, like, by the end of that 2 days out of the contest. And also, I guess, in keeping with the niche I've found myself in, it ended up being another sort of horror, like gothic horror animation. In this case, more about someone who's faced with having to make a decision and very clearly making the wrong one. Where there's less of like a plot and more just we are seeing the very end of a journey and it doesn't go where the audience may hope.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah, because you're kind of expecting the classic kind of he throws the dagger away and he learns the error of his ways kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, this was really good. Very kind of in keeping with your as you said your current kind of genre you found yourself in, and yeah, I really as always with your films, I really love the kind of cinematography and you know the lighting and yeah, it's a aesthetically really cool Brick film as well. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a split diopter shot in there, I think.
Yeah, there are a couple. I have an old, like, for old 35mm cameras, an old split diopter, but it's not clean. Like, it streaks right in the middle of the frame. But it's like the only one I've got on hand, so I've got a couple shots like that, like right at the end with the Cartwright arriving at home. Like, there's one there, and there's one, I believe the one midway through the film where it's like the wide shot of the dining room, I think that was a split diopter as well. One of those, so we could get both Cartwright and the judge in focus in the same shot.
Yeah, the cinematography in this, and also the cinematography in your BRAWL entry from last year was really, really nice. Yeah. I wonder what are your influences in terms of cinematography?
Some of it's definitely coming from photography. There's one photographer, Andrei Kurtesh, I believe is his last name. He does a lot of black and white, and a lot of the sort of heavy shadows of his work have kind of influenced definitely the last two Brick films I've done. It's just something where I find I really gravitate towards high contrast and heavy shadow. I don't know. Maybe it's becoming too familiar a look. I was worried while I was doing this one because I was using the same kind of top-down key light setup that I did with Picked Clean. Like, they both have that same sort of main light, and then I'm just shaping the rest of the like fill light and accent light around it to kind of fill in the space. But I tried to do something a little different with like in the where I would place it at its strongest in the scene would kind of depend on where the focus was in the conversation, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a question about the fire. So fire is in Brick Films one of those things that you can do pretty much any way, right? It's a super chaotic force of nature and you can animate it any which way you like. I tend to like seeing it done the way you did it here, kind of just the two different positions. It feels very like Lego-y to me. So like, did you have any intention behind the way you filmed that? Was it just based on the time that you had, or do you like that style? Like,
I think that's animated on. It's got to be on 4s because almost everything I do is on 2s. Mm-hmm. And that came from like the one I did for Manifest, Waiting for Rain, where almost all of that is me animating fire, and that took forever. It really. A lot of just the low frame rate for the fire here was so there would always be kind of something in the scene going on, because otherwise it's a lot of subtle character movement either for the judge or for Cartwright, and I didn't want to move them too much because it wouldn't fit like the tone of the animation. So the fire's there to kind of fill in the spots where the characters aren't moving to ensure there's always something going on. But I kind of mixed it because you've got that going on 4s, but I'm pretty sure I think the fire in the background you can only see really in a couple shots. That was on 4s, maybe on 2s in some places. But just a lot of that's just trying to fill in. It's all coming from a practical reason of trying to fill in space. And of course the fire being a major motif with the lighting throughout the whole sequence.
It kind of feels like the fire has a meaning in and of itself in terms of like, I don't know, like it feels like symbolic in terms of the journey that like this our character is in, clearly making about, as you were saying, like the end of a journey where he's made the wrong decision. It kind of feels like it's that kind of fire being that kind of dangerous force.
He's definitely like in the oven, as you might say. Even stuff down to like the judge's cloak is an old cape piece with fire printed on it, and like Yeah, red definitely became kind of the go-to fill color for most of the animation.
And I like that you keep that same kind of red throughout the it's a very kind of red film, isn't it? Like there's a lot of red in the film.
Red coming through the grate in the door, like towards the end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That piece is just a great shape to it, the lattice.
Mm-hmm.
I love the part, speaking of red, where the judge like crushes the fruit. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, thank you. That was kind of the shot. When I started reworking the idea, one of the first images I had was just this imposing character crushing a piece of fruit at this table, and then everything built out from there. Like, but that image became kind of the anchor when I reworked the idea.
Wow.
I think I have a really interesting favorite frame from this, I think, or favorite shot.
Shoot. I'm glad you have a favorite.
When the guy throws the little dagger on the table, first of all, the animation for that is really well done. Like I can feel the weight of the knife. The sound design matches really, really nicely with that too. I don't know. That's just my favorite shot from the film. I love when that he just throws the knife to the end of the table and it kind of bounces on there.
Yeah, there's such a. Oh, go on.
Oh, like that wide shot. I love how still it is, and it really lets you kind of like breathe after he just sits there and is like faced with the decision after the knife is thrown on the table. It's just really well done.
The shot, the close up shot with the hook moving on the table to grab the dagger, is that one of the is that a standard minifigure arm, or is that one of those Lego pirate ones that's like with the longer arms?
No, that's a standard arm. Just like if it was any further into frame, you would see the end of the arm.
Right.
It's the arm. I think I did that on a telephoto. It may have been on my standard kit lens, but I attached a telephoto converter to it, so I was trying to get as close as possible, like adding my macro filters on top of that. But that is as much of the arm as you could see without it being clearly out of socket.
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay, that's really interesting.
There's definitely a theme of like strong intentional visual styles in the high-ranking entries. We saw that with Nerf Knots and with Joshua Nelson and 2x4's entry already, and some of the upcoming ones, of course. Like a really distinct, intentional visual style, sets and lighting, camera.
I really like the music he used as well. It was like perfect with the monologue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one good thing about Dungeon Synth is just some of the creators for that will put their stuff up just full Creative Commons, just full access to it, so long as you credit them. And there's a lot of kind of darker music in the Dungeon Synth scene, so it fit really well.
Cool.
Nice.
It's a good tip.
Yeah. Shall we head over to fourth place?
Interview with an Alien by Starbrick Studios.
Yeah.
Wonder, do you want to introduce the film Starbrick Studios?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually originally had the idea before BRAWL. But like because Brickfilms.com was hosting a Universe and Beyond contest. So from there I kind of got the idea of like doing something with like an alien crash landing in like the 1950s, having like a journalist and stuff like that. But at the time, I didn't have the time to do it. So when BRAWL came around and the follow theme, I was like, yes, I can do that. And it's amazing how like BRAWL gives you that opportunity it gives you the time to make the film, that you normally wouldn't have, even though you have less time.
Yeah, I was thinking that when William mentioned like first Ant-Man film in 4 years, it's kind of funny that the first one in 4 years would be made in a week.
Yeah,
gives you the excuse. Yeah,
especially consider like
also,
if you're going to sort of translate that to the amount of how long it takes to make 7 minutes. Generally, like for me, it's like it could be over a year. Like yeah.
Yeah, for me, this would probably have taken like a few months if I was doing it normally. But yeah, I also had a lot of help from my sister too. because she made all the original music in it,
Okay,
which
wow.
was
Music
like
good.
really helpful.
Yeah.
Like I would do the scenes, and then I would hand it over to her, and she makes the music and fits everything to the scene. So it was like perfect to have that. Also, with brainstorming ideas and the story and the dialogue as well.
This feels really like classic style to me, like just dialogue driven sort of adventure, like old school kind of Rick films.
Thank you. Yeah, it was like I was focusing a lot on the dialogue. Like I spent the whole of the first day just focusing solely on the script. Like I wanted to make sure that was like perfect to hand out to the voice actors, so like I didn't have to like go back and change a bunch of stuff.
Actually, I guess you probably mentioned some already, but like, what would be some of your Brick film influences?
Yeah, like Jonathan Vaughn for sure.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like a lot of his
So,
like
yeah, so it does
abduction
go back
films.
further. The influence
Yeah,
goes back further than your own filmography, clearly.
but like right now, I would say Stanley Kubrick is one of my favorites,
Ah, nice.
and Joko too. Like his Johnny Thunder stuff, big inspiration there too.
Nice.
The voice
It's
acting
cool
in
how
this is
Johnny
really
Thunder
good
is
too.
talented.
Yeah, great voice acting.
Of course.
Yeah, Jay Silver and Castle it's always awesome to have them on board because they really put their all into it, and Blandier too.
Yeah, say Blandier. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I actually
Lander did great.
I am curious actually the how much of the dialogue was like improvised by Blandier, or like was a lot of the stuff that he says, like phrases, was that actually in the script?
Yeah, I kind of wrote the script with Blandier in mind.
Yeah.
It definitely
No.
fits.
So when he said yes, I was like yes,
Yeah.
because but he did do a lot of ad lib parts too, like a couple of the like gosh golly lines,
Jay Silver did a really good job with the alien.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it took
definitely
me a
one
while
where-
to figure out that was him.
Exactly, yeah. I was thinking for a second, I'm like, wait, is that also Jay Silver?
Yeah, I think especially
Yeah, like
because
he-
he's got like multiple voice parts, like with playing the old man as well, like, and the fact that they sound very different. I think Jay Silver was very good at that, being able to play multiple, voices in the same film and make you think they're different voice actors.
Yeah, he's like so good at that, like completely different ranges of voice, and he does that in a lot of my films that I've done. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also noticing there's a trend in the playlist of especially with the high ranking entries of using some some interesting kind of like licensed music that's kind of classical, that classic kind of
True, yeah.
licensed music.
Old
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was one of the things that I thought of when I originally thought of the idea before BRAWL, was that I wanted to include that "Fly Me to the Moon" Frank Sinatra song, and I actually wanted to make that part a lot longer. Like I was planning on having like dancing scenes as they're like going for space and stuff, but I just didn't have time for that. That was the most rushed part of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, how many hours of each day were you spending working on the film?
The last 3 days I was animating until like 2-3 a.m. every night.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Wow.
just can't imagine making a 9-minute film and animating all this dialogue and having multiple sets. Because like, doing like a 5-minute brawl entry on one set felt like I was hitting my limit before.
Yeah, when I wrote the script, I kind of had an idea that this is probably going to be like 8+ minutes. But I was like, even if I don't finish it on time, I'd be happy to make this film and be pushed to make it with BRAWL. So
Yeah. And I guess it's one of those films as well. Like it doesn't feel like it's length. It's it flows really well,
And it also doesn't feel like it's falling apart at the end.
yeah.
yeah, thank you.
It's do you I imagine then I mean based on like how it turned out, you do a lot of the did you have a proper? You knew where you were going from the beginning, like in terms of once you started animating. Did you have the end in mind? Like, did you know like?
Yeah, I had the whole script like fully written from like start to finish. Like, yeah, I focused a lot on the story at the start because I didn't want to like have to think about what I was doing later on in the days. You know,
Yeah.
I wanted to just fully know from the start.
Nice.
That's my desire.
And I kept like having a plan of like, oh, I'm gonna do this, then the other today. But every day, I kept like falling short by like one or two things, so it kept piling up.
That does.
And that's when I had to. Yeah, that's when I had to start animating late into the night to finish it.
I do want to say as well, you did a really good job. I mean, I guess sort of touching it sort of again like on it, the music as part of that, but you did a really good job of making it feel like the time period it's supposed to be. The 50s.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially the slang.
Yeah.
For the end of the script, I was.
The kind of like
the end of the script, I was sorry.
Sorry. No, you go ahead. Yeah.
For the end of the script, I was really like looking up 50s slang words and stuff to just put in there. So I was running out of things for them to say. So.
And I really like the like when they're in space, the like 2D animated kind of stars. It feels very like 50s kind of retro stuff. I really liked that.
Yeah, thank you. I found that on Canva.
I also really
love the jazz musicians too.
Yeah.
That's another thing where like you could have gotten away with just playing some jazz music in the bar, but like actually showing the musicians is a nice little detail that adds more character.
Yeah, that was the part I really wanted to add to it.
I also think as well, like I really like the minifigure choices. I think that kind of goes as well with the kind of feel that they look kind of right for the time period as well. Like.
Yeah, for the alien figure, I was kind of inspired by the alien tourist from that minifigure series, space series.
Oh, right, yeah.
But I don't have it. I didn't have it, so I just had to make my own version of it.
Yeah, I like that he has the kind of, he has like kind of like he dressed up like a tourist.
Yeah, that was the idea.
Classic alien face is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I drew that with a pen myself.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like the miniature scale stuff you do too, or the micro scale with like the establishing shots.
Yeah.
Those are hard to do.
You did a really good job with there's like that shot where he's driving to the barn, and it's like a small, I think it's like a smaller scale version of that building, and it kind of cuts straight away then to the full scale one, and it looks really good. Like that's the transition for that is really good.
Yeah, making the micro scale barn was actually like, I think it took longer than making the big ones.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Getting the shaping right.
Yeah.
It's hard to make like micro scale stuff like super convincing in a brick film, but you did a really good job.
Thanks. Yeah, and to make it look like the actual bigger version as well, I think that's really hard.
I was gonna say I did kind of, as I was saying that, then I saw that clip come up, and I wanted to make sure that actually was like micro scale, and I had
a different scale.
Yeah, because that's how convincing it is, like.
Yeah, thanks.
But yeah, don't know if you want to move on to third place.
Yeah, I'm happy. I think I've said everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so third place we got Paranoia on 2nd Avenue by Sullivan Manning. So do you want to introduce the film?
Sure. Yeah, I always like go into any contest with like one or two things that I want to do. This year I think I had seen like some video about black and white photography, and so then I bought a red filter, and I was like, I really want to use this in something soon. So the only thing I knew going in was I wanted to do black and white, if I could, and then I really wanted to like heavily animate, because I feel like that's the like thing that's been lacking a lot, is like I spent a lot of time on like lighting or composition, and then like it'll just be kind of minimal animation, and I was like, I want to like heavily animate something. So I was pretty happy with how I was able to do that. And then the theme kind of, it just felt right to do something like Alfred Hitchcock, Twilight Zone kind of stuff. So it just sort of worked out, I guess. I don't really plan too heavily. I kind of like storyboard each night, like based on where the story's going. Um, so it kind of evolves a lot as I go, but yeah.
Yeah, but you're really, really successful with the animation. It really shows that you were like trying to focus on it because like it's so subtle, and I was just amazed by how without dialogue, like the movements just really, really convey like what the characters are thinking and feeling, just like amazingly. You know, way more convincingly and more in depth than the average Brick film.
Like the way that she's holding that coffee cup and she's like shaking, like that kind of thing is so subtle, but it feels so, you know, it's so realistic. Like yeah, very very subtle like animations like throughout it. Just that sort of general feeling of watching behind you, you know. Yeah, no, it was amazing, and I want to give like, you know, huge props to how good this looks in black and white. Like it really feels like, you know, I don't know. I feel like there's more to making something black and white than just sort of putting a black and white filter on something or whatever. You know, it's it really feels like, you know, this is it's very intentionally lit for black and white, and there's a very kind of, you know, contrast of different shades of grey, and you know that kind of come from, you know, an actual black and white film. And yeah, you did a very good job of sort of emulating that kind of classic black and white film look.
Yeah, I saw the picture that you posted with the red filter, and did you have to like change the colors of things in the set just for how it looks on camera versus how it looks in reality?
I did, yeah. The main thing was the stoplight is like I had to switch it. I had to reverse it because the darker color is like green, but it needs to look lighter. So the stoplight is reversed of what it would be in real life. So that was that kind of threw me off because the red and green, basically red appears really bright, and then green appears really really dark. So yeah, that was the main thing that I had to switch. And then just like minifigure, like I'm really picky about how the minifigures look, so I was like doing tests on the first day with like different legs and torsos to see what looks right. Because like I would use one pair of legs and they would look way too bright or something, so I'd have to play around with that. But yeah, it was fun to figure out how it works because I had never used the filter before, but it worked really well. To like, it had a nice depth to it that I was really happy with.
Yeah, shooting it with the red filter, definitely a great idea to like plan out everything in camera with knowing just how the wavelengths are going to look, like what's going to be dark, what's going to be bright, and rather than just slapping a black and white filter on it, rather than just desaturating it.
I think the hardest part was the color mod. I couldn't use at all, which is normally the only one I do use because like I don't like having like a letter like super blatantly just in the frame. But like there was no way I could prove that there was like a green and black piece in there. So I bombarded Chris with a long email of like legal mod elements and apologized a bunch.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. I was thinking, oh, you could just send a color version, but if it's all red, then
yeah, there is no color version.
Yeah, I love a lot of the wide shots in here are really, really good. I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm trying to decipher right now, just watching it loop through here. A lot of the wide shots you have feel really immersive. Like there's a huge set behind it. Like it's just a continuous city that goes on forever. And I'm not sure what exactly I'm looking at because it looks really convincing. But is there like a mix of different backdrops? I know I can see some micro scale cities in some of the shots or like buildings, but what's the mix like?
It's mainly micro scale, and then I would, since I don't like plan out my shots as much as I would like, I just kind of have like, I build just a bunch of different buildings at different scales, and they're all kind of like modular. So I just kind of move it around in block each shot, like each time with like moving stuff around. So yeah, the like super wide one, there's like probably 4 or 5 different scales of buildings. I think the New York City skyline set is in there at one point.
It does look like you're shooting at a more wide open aperture. What are you shooting at? Because there's a shallower depth of field too for this one.
Yeah, I really like the blurry background. So I can't remember what it was at, but it was tough because the red filter. I didn't realize this when I started, but you have to change you have to go at least like 2 or 3 stops higher just with the red filter. So that threw me off for a bit. Yeah, and then also just when I'm running short on time, it's nice to have just a sort of out of focus background, so I don't have to worry too much about that stuff.
Yeah, it can be a good band-aid for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this film, it really did just feel really immersive, and I loved it. Just really enjoyed watching it. And yeah, the traffic going in the foreground, and you know, people walking around on the street.
A lot of the part selection too is really impressive, just for texture for black and white.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think there was something about it that, you know, like it really feels like it's taking its time to just, you know, put in as much as you can, you know, like within each shot, and in a way where it doesn't feel like you're thinking too much about the, you know, this deadline that's sort of lingering on. You know, like it doesn't feel as though you've made many compromises, at least from watching it.
Yeah, I always have like a list sort of priority stuff of like, if something goes wrong, like then at least, you know, like midweek, at least I have most of what I need for the story. And then from there, I just go down the list of like, I've got everything I need. What are some things I want? Like the staircase thing, like that shot where it zoomed on the staircase, that was like the last thing I filmed because I was like, I don't need it. It's
that's
like
necessary. That was so good.
I was gonna say,
that's great.
That was so good.
Like that shot's so good. I mean, that feels so Hitchcock. You know, like
it's such an inversion of like the classic Vertigo shot.
Yeah.
I think I'd usually like tend towards deep focus for black and white, but I mean it really helps sell the world that is very background. Like as Aaron Omad said, it's kind of like a band-aid. Like it just blends everything in. But it being kind of shallow, like for this film in particular, it does kind of feel like it just keeps you in the headspace of the character. Like you know, everything's kind of closing in. It's, you know, you just have that claustrophobic feeling from the shallowness that's all around that isn't the character herself.
It's very intentional.
I
think that there is it's shallow depth of field, but enough to feel like there is like a world outside of it. It's not kind of hiding anything. And also as well, like sometimes you do feel like in some films there is an over-reliance on shallow depth of field, but it doesn't feel like an intentional kind of, you know, intentional thing. Like this feels very it feels very intentional. It feels very kind of like it's part of this, you know, what like internalized feeling that the character's going through. You know, you feel like you're experiencing that claustrophobia that she is, like with them closing in, and yeah, like it feels so sort of like really like carefully considered, like everything is.
Yeah, thank you.
You really captured the time period you're going for as well.
Yeah, it was fun to try to do with like hair pieces and just like different. Like I looked up a bunch of like city buildings from like that era of just like what. My mind was just going to like the whole week. I was like, wait, did they have that in the 40s? Like trying to think like different things. I'm like, was that around back then?
And it's funny that we have two films in the top 5 that are kind of period pieces.
Period pieces, yeah.
I was thinking
this one's top 3.
I was thinking the same with the 50s.
Yeah.
I do have to mention the smart decision to make the villains faceless as well. I think that was really effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the faceless characters match with the shallow focus as well.
Yeah, for sure.
He's just sort of
Absolutely.
unclear. Yeah. But yeah, I was sort of worried that this might get bumped down in the judging because it's only 2 minutes.
Yeah, I was
only
too.
2 minutes. Yeah, that's funny to think about.
But I was just thinking to myself, like, this is one of my own personal favorites, so I really, really hope that it ranks high. But I wasn't sure, so I was really happy that it did come in the top 3.
It's funny you talking about the trying to thinking about like what is in keeping with the time period and everything. That kind of takes me back to when I was making the Chaka Tracts and with a very similar time period, like 1940s, kind of trying to make it feel accurate to the time. But yeah, should we head over to second place?
Second place, yeah. I was also worried that like if most of the high-ranking ones were super long, people might become discouraged to enter in the future. They might think, oh well, if I don't make an 8-minute film, I've got no chance anyway. So why bother? But so I was really happy that look, a 2-minute film can still place in the top 3 if it's this good.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So we should over to number 2, which is Sharkman Shark by Stanley Kubrick, who isn't actually with us today. So we I'm not, unfortunately I can't take over to Stanley Kubrick to introduce this film. But it's funny that this is the only sort of Brick film in the top 25 that has a kind of detective mystery with animals. But this one is amazing. It's like absolutely incredible. It's also really funny as well. Like, I don't know, it feels like there's a real commitment to the bit, I guess is what I'd say. But it's also really stylish and really artfully put together. And when the intro is that well considered, it's gonna you're up for something big. This was fantastic. It was such a great entry.
Yeah, something I've been noticing about Stanley Kubrick's films recently is how just incredibly intentional every single piece is placed in the frame. And even more so this one, I think, exemplifies it, because there's just everything kind of fades off into that black void. And so you see just every little thing is just so beautifully framed and so amazingly shot. It just works so well. And he accentuates a lot of it with the light that kind of follows certain things, which I thought was really clever too, because it's a little bit, not within the world, but it just works so well. I have so much to say about this one. Very stylish.
I know it's kind of an obvious thing, but I love the merger between like an in-joke and pure style that is using a fisheye lens for some of the wides.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like nothing in this like film at all is like an accident. Like every inch of it, like Graham was saying, is just like so calculated and intentional, and it really is really great at that.
The color palette is also great. Like just the stark oranges and then the stark blues when it cuts to the different fish and sort of those action shots in the water is super effective too, to like distinguish the different moods of each of the shots, and it's just so good.
I think there's something, if I was going to kind of try and describe Stanley Kubrick's style in general, I'd say that he really excels at telling kind of stories which are on the surface kind of almost like pretty much jokes, but in a way which is like really seriously, like done really seriously and like really artfully like put together. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say this fully as a joke, because I mean it is very funny, but also I think it is actually a proper story that's got a complete middle and beginning, middle, and end. But yeah, I did see someone describe it as like a film noir in the SpongeBob universe.
Or like David Fincher's SpongeBob. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I would
Yeah,
love
I
to
just can't believe
see.
how cohesive it is.
Yeah, very cohesive visually and
Do this within
thematically.
BRAWL to put together so strongly for BRAWL, like to craft the world. Amazing.
I love
The music is so dissonant too, and it's really off-putting, intentionally so. Like the high-pitched violin, just kind of like, yeah, it's just all like everything was chosen so
like it fits
so
so
well.
with the with the style, with the feeling of the aesthetic of the film. And I love that the lobster with a cigar. That's so funny.
Yeah.
And the shot of
The-
two,
Oh,
the
sorry.
shot of shot of the two fish playing cards as well.
Yeah.
I think it's the he said it bit with the statue that really got me.
I love that.
Yeah, is it like Poseidon or something?
Yeah.
My favorite shot for this one is when the shark raises his arm with the gun at the end. Such a good shot. I think it's just so
I
funny
imagine-
with this particular shark piece for the head that's just kind of like
Yeah.
static in one direction, and he's just
I imagine
I
it
think-
made it much more approachable for BRAWL to have a lot of these shots be sort of in the black void, but like,
Mhm.
but they're really, really nice, really strongly shot, and like, because the whole film is like cohesive enough, like they're all sold to be within this sort of dark world, and it being underwater, like it would be dark underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be. I think
Makes
that's
sense.
a good point. I think a lot of times when people do underwater films, it's always like unrealistically bright, or like there's not that much water or light that gets down there.
Yeah, so like you don't even think of that it's being shot in a black void practically, a lot of the time, because it has been sold within the film, like the world has been built up effectively.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes for that kind of film noir sort of style of everything being very, or the lighting being very directional and really kind of like spotlights basically, like focusing in on the kind of subject. Yeah. Do we want to?
Something I'd like to take influence from, for Thacker BRAWL, I might have to try to find some way to incorporate more solid color backgrounds rather than having to build sets for every single shot.
Yeah, I mean it definitely helps me. I'd say that much. But yeah, do we want to head over to first place?
Heck of a day.
Yeah, and a heck of a film.
True.
And
Yes.
yeah. Graham, do you
Heck
want
of a
Aeronomad.
process too.
Yeah, we'd
Yeah.
all love to hear about the process of making Heck of a Day.
I will say there. So I teased a little bit of a behind the scenes sort of thing during the results live stream, but me and some of the crew sat down and we kind of went through the film scene by scene in a lot of detail. So I'm still editing that. That is coming at some point.
Nice.
But yeah, this thing was a beast of a film to make. I don't even think the script was done until like Wednesday night, maybe Thursday morning. So it was very much a large project. But I think the thing that helped this film the most was that long script writing process and the fact that I was involved as only part of the process in the writing. Usually I kind of take on the bulk of the ideation and this is kind of what I want the film to look like, to feel like here's kind of point A and point B, where I want to start and where I want to end. And then I kind of work through it with my friend Keenan, and we kind of craft, more of the dialogue or monologues historically is what it kind of ends up being, and kind of the more specifics there. But this one, I kind of got the whole crew together beforehand, and I was like, all right, we're gonna hop on a Discord call and we're gonna watch the theme drop, and we're gonna just have a big writer's room. And so for the next, 5 hours or so after the theme was announced, there were 5 or 6 of us in there, kind of just, I kind of laid out like, okay, here's kind of the point A and point B, but really, like, I want this to be a comedy, and there's no better way to write jokes than to just riff off each other. And it's just my brothers and my longtime childhood best friends, so we kind of have that chemistry together to kind of throw stuff out and riff off each other. I think it really shows in the final product that the kind of foundation to this whole thing was the writer's room at the beginning. So
absolutely, yeah. The screenplay is great. Like it's very it's really kind of witty and sharp.
I mean, to me, this feels like an old school classic Rick film, like, because it's it has dialogue and it's a comedy and it has an adventure to it, and just the whole style and vibe. It might be a bit too soon to call it an instant classic, but it feels like if it had been released in the classic era, it would be regarded as one of the big all-time classics, I feel like.
Yeah.
I think Brickfilm wise, this is probably most inspired by the Henry and Edmund series.
Okay.
Kind of that really, like, I don't even know. It's just the classic style, but elevated, I think, is what I was trying to go for. Where you could tell I'm using a nicer camera and some better lights, but I like to keep a lot of those classic pieces in prominent positions and go for the really bright color schemes in like his house and all that. So
yeah, I think
I guess
that
ending on a vehicle chase at the end is.
Oh my gosh,
right.
It was. I kept telling people as we were writing it, I was like, whose idea was it to have the entire third act on a moving train? I can say that because it was my idea, and I kind of reserved the entire. So I wanted Saturday, like the 12 hours I got on Saturday from when I was planning to wake up to the deadline. I was like, I need to reserve this for editing. I cannot be doing any animating on Saturday. And I decided to leave the entire day Friday, however many hours. I think I spent like 16, 18 hours on Friday. I was like, I'm going to reserve this entire Friday for the third act, like just the train, because I have no idea how I'm going to do it. It's in the script, but I've never done a vehicle chase before. I've never had the mountains scrolling in the background. Like, I know theoretically how it's done, and I know I can do it, but I need the entire day just to work on that one scene.
yeah.
That was a.
What means you could make the scene in one day? How is that possible?
Yeah, if I had one gripe with the film, it ends a little too quickly. I think I had planned to use kind of from the start of that Elton John song all the way to the first chorus to kind of build out the drama of that scene and have a couple more lines, but that's where I see the time crunch happening the most in the film, and I think it's satisfactory. I just wish it had a little bit more there. But yeah, it took a long time to do that train. Fortunately, I had filmed the superintendent Gus earlier in the film, and so I kind of knew how he moved and how I needed to film his dialogue moments, and that helped a lot. So I wasn't figuring out that character as well as the background and all that at the same time. So
and of course, his legs are out of shot.
Oh yeah, his legs are only in one shot, and because they don't move, they're just like a couple 1x2 breaks.
Yeah, you had at least like 4 different types of characters that you were animating, like starting with the birds in the opening. I loved that, and then the minifigures, obviously, and then Hornby, and then Gus. And I feel like then the little, oh my gosh.
Yeah, the locomotive engineer. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a ton of different character animation beyond just minifigures, and you nailed all of them.
Oh, I really love that the design of that like locomotive engineer guy with the that's like several arms. Like what is
Yeah,
that
the like
from?
spidery guy. I don't. It was like one of those little racers from like 2002 or something,
Oh, okay.
where they had the little cars that if they bumped something, the little character would like fly out.
Oh,
I don't know. I needed a train driver, and I liked his goggles. I could just see the like furnace glowing into those goggles, and I was like, okay, I need this to be the train driver. And
I also
I just
I love the Pearl Miner, like the rock monsters, all kind of like get
Yeah,
together. And then...
yeah, those were hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I need this to be like one of those. I forget, was it Roman ships back in the day?
Oh yeah.
Where they'd have the sails, but then they'd also have all the people below deck like rowing for extra power.
Ben-Hur,
So
yeah.
I kind of felt like that was a good joke I could throw in last minute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I like that they're kind of there's like this sort of gags, but it kind of actually adds to the world. And yeah, actually, I got Orbitolizard Studios asks, did you sleep?
Very little, yeah, but I did sleep.
Okay, glad to hear.
Yeah, part of the reason I say this is kind of my upper limit is just because of how much time I was able to dedicate to it.
Yeah.
You know, I took 3 days off of work, so I really got 5 full 24-hour days to work on this, and you know, I don't see myself ever having that much time. So
I thought you were going to say that you took the whole week off work.
no, I probably should have, but
So what you're saying is that like if you took
no, that's not what I'm saying.
Next year.
gonna make a 20-minute entry.
We were talking about microscale earlier, and like this film has some absolutely incredible microscale.
Yeah.
I try not to think about how much time I'm dedicating towards shots that only appear for a few seconds. To me, it kind of just feels like a necessary part of the film. Like, okay, you need your establishing shot, and I need it to look like this. But when I really think about it, I'm like, do I really need? Like, I spent so much time building those sets and lighting them, and that train to keep it on the little track was harder than you'd think.
I wondered about that because like you use the grill tiles because those are perfect for the train tracks, but then I watched it like for the third time and I was like, wait a minute, how is that staying on there so perfectly straight? That would be a nightmare.
Yeah, so if you look closely, I don't mind revealing this, in I think the first shot of the train going across with the big like rock monsters holding up the bridge.
Yeah.
There's like I sticky tacked bar elements along the back of the train so that they'd all move together, so I wouldn't have to line up each one every single frame. And then in one of the shots, I think it was where it's going towards the skull, I didn't, you know, you couldn't hide the bar behind it, but I realized you couldn't see it if they were just connected all by plates. And so that made that a lot easier. But then I forgot to remove the plates for one of the other shots, so you can actually see them in a couple other shots where the train cars are just connected by just plate pieces, and it looks a little off, but yeah, that was definitely a process, those miniatures.
I love those rock monsters that are like holding up the bridge. That's such a cool design.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that on like in the on the BRAWL channel on Discord, like, and thinking like that is cool. That is so cool.
I tried so hard not to post anything. I think I ended up posting a couple things, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to give too much away. But there was just so much that I wanted to share.
I think it was totally worth it to make all of those micro scale shots. Like, even though they're only on screen for a few seconds each, like they last in your mind. They're so good.
They're kind of the thing that like builds the world.
Yeah. They build the world. Yeah.
Yeah, I love those. The one of the shots with the little heads just in that blue pool. I laugh every time. They're just like chilling.
Yeah, that was the part that I had to cut the most. So this whole thing was kind of inspired loosely by the setting of Dante's Inferno, and so I wanted to show the journey. Like, I thought it was a good gag that like, oh, the center of hell is just heck, and so I wanted to show the journey like through some of the other circles. The only one that made it was the 9th circle with the heads frozen in ice. But I did have plans to do more of those that were sadly cut.
I do love the various influences people have brought to their entries. You know, literature and photography and film and everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really does it pays, I think, when it comes to results. And
I forget who it was that asked about Hornby, and like someone said, did you choose the Triceratops just so you didn't have to animate another character talking expressively? And I probably should have done that because Hornby was an absolute pain to animate. I guess I could have gotten away with just, an open position and a closed position and then looping those frames. But I decided to just animate to the entire track of dialogue that I got. So
I feel like even animating the head flapping like to the right timing of each line, even that sounds like a bit of an annoying process. Yeah,
I did actually have to reshoot which I'm so glad I did, because I did a couple of the shots with him and I was like, this is really not working. Like I was doing too much ease in or ease out or something. And it took a while to get it to look how I wanted it. Yeah. And man, all my voice actors were so good in this. they turned in great performances.
Yeah, it's great. It's really, really great cast of voices.
Yeah, I do love Mind Game at the start. And Jay Silver going back and forth.
Yeah,
that was great. And I love the I love when Mind Game's character, the Death, it just like appears in his bowl. That was so good. That always makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, I had written loosely in the script like, and then he jumps out a window and goes on a little chase to like run away. And I think it was Keenan that was like, why don't you just have him like pop out of the popcorn bowl or something? And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And he could just drag him in and I have one less scene to shoot.
That's clever.
Yeah,
you got to figure out what you can afford to cut and BRAWL.
For sure.
It definitely, I can definitely feel, especially now you mention it with the opening scene, I can definitely feel the influence and copyrights. Kind of feels like it kind of feels like Henry and Edmund in hell. Like
now that you mention it, like starting out in the house and then somebody comes to the door
and the music playing and stuff.
I'm
not saying this in a way of like, it's just
no, it probably was very subconsciously inspired.
Actually, there is something I noticed in that scene. In the first shot where he's at the door, there's just a tree in the back. Then in the next shot, there's a house in the back.
Dang it! Someone caught it. Yeah, I
was only on a rewatch. I noticed that, not the first time around.
Yeah, no. The first thing I shot was that panning shot in the living room. And then I realized, okay, I don't have any of the dialogue written for this scene yet. I should probably switch to something else. And so the next thing I shot, I kind of took a pause on the whole like living room scene, and I went to the actual first shot of the film in the like gates of hell. And so you can tell some things were not quite set up how I wanted them in the first few shots. That's why like all the windows are blown out in a lot of those shots, but in some shots they're not, and you can see the house and the trees in the background. So yeah, it changed. I'm fine with it.
yeah. I mean, like, kind of, it's not essential, is it? Like. It's funny,
I think it's funny. Like it's sort of charming to notice these things much later when it's a BRAWL entry. Like, sort of like a tale that reminds you, like, yes, this was made in a week.
It's the book, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
So impressive.
Yeah, I guess I took inspiration from the Cleaners too, with the music choices and kind of fitting those in, which is good.
Yeah, like I really liked your music choices. I think that despite Goodbye Yellow Brick Road being like a really kind of famous song, like it's I really like its use in this, and I think that it like for whatever kind of like concerns you may have had for like the ending and the pacing for that, like it it made the ending really work, I think.
Oh, it definitely carries the ending.
Yeah. I like how the music kind of it has that kind of build up. Kind of gets into like the chorus bit when you see Hornby like in the sky, and like, I have thumbs now, and
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah, that part was perfect.
Yeah, it did feel like a nice ending. Nice, sweet ending.
Yeah. So now, are we expected to see a sequel where like he he undoes whatever he's done in life to make him go to hell?
Yeah, no, it was funny. Like in the writing process, we got a little too deep into the backstory and the lore of some of the characters, and a lot of really funny lines had to get cut for time. And but yeah, we got really into the whole world building aspect of this, and I can definitely see it, being a much bigger world than we kind of gave you a window into. I won't say that I will come back to it, but
it is a funny concept though to like do one where after he's escaped from hell, he now has to go and like make amends with everybody he's wronged in life, so that when he dies again, eventually, like he can get to heaven the next time.
That is the implication, right? Like that's where the whole theme fits in. You've got like, okay, what follows after death, and then you kind of get a glimpse into, well, there is something now. What is that? And let's explore, at least in this world, kind of what it happens to be. And then, no one's given a second chance from death in real life, but in this story, if you were to go back to Earth, what would follow from your experience down there? So
yeah, I think that's a fun concept. I mean, you could maybe somebody else could adapt it as not as a sequel to this, but there's something there. There's something to that, I think.
Mm-hmm. I will say my biggest encouragement after releasing this film was, a lot of the feedback I get on some of my other films are like, oh, I love the lighting, love the set design. It's like, that's all great. I definitely strive to do that well. But I got a lot more feedback on, oh, I love this character. He's so funny. Or like, some of the dialogue is really impactful here. Or like, I love the voice acting for this. And a lot of it was very story and character based. And that is like, if you can look past all the filmmaking aspects, like the goal is to tell a story and to have entertaining characters and all that. So
yeah, I mean,
that was definitely the most encouraging part.
The fact that we've talked as much as we have about like the characters and the story, considering it's such an impressive film on a technical level, I think that says a lot about like how good of a film it is.
Does say a lot, yeah.
I do think it's I do agree that like it means a lot to hear kind of like feedback that is like specifically about something to do with the story or like a character or something like that's it does hit in a certain way, I think.
Yeah, for people to be able to remember individual characters and remember them by name and who voiced them and funny lines they said, yeah, that's great.
But yeah, I am kind of starting to think that as we've been nearly 2.5 hours, should we start to consider coming towards the end of...
Yeah, talking about the top 10 always goes longer than you'd expect, yeah.
Yeah, it always takes way longer than you think it's going to be, I think. But yeah, no, it was... this is really great, and also it's really nice kind of sort of change dynamic to have 4 people that have 4 individual.
It's definitely nice to have everyone be able to talk about their individual entry.
Yeah.
Near the top when we go over the top 10, yeah.
Especially because, like, a lot of you have placed highly before, and we've talked a lot about your previous films, so it's really nice to kind of actually get a chance to talk firsthand, with you about the films.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on again.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, I mean, we could, if we wanted to, we could keep talking about Heck of a Day for a long time. There's so much to talk about. Like,
Heck of a podcast.
Really, it did feel like, wow, this is, yeah, like with Unwavering Dedication for Thack, it felt like this has taken BRAWL to another level, and
sure.
Don't know if it'll ever be matched. It's just incredible. So, yeah,
I appreciate it.
Well done, amazing. yeah, thanks everybody for coming on to talk.
Yeah, thank you. And
Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
absolutely. And I'm sure you are all invited to come back again sometime in the future. But thank you all for coming on here to talk about your films, and thank you to the audience as well, who have been very active. It's actually really nice as well to be able to kind of we respond to actual live messages going on as well. This is really fun. Really enjoy this format. I think we've been talking about. Did we mention it? I don't know if we mentioned this at the start of the stream or not. That we're gonna go for kind of this sort of format, not like doing live formats, like live format for every episode, but doing kind of like the camera, kind of being able to see each other, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think especially now that we've moved to the Bricks Emotion channel, it was a good excuse to think about other ways in which we could sort of increase the production value of the podcast.
Sure. Yeah.
Being on camera, and it's nice to be able to see people, but it's also good for us to be able to talk, and it makes the conversation more natural somehow.
Yeah, I hope that it leads to less of me going because I have to cut so much of that in the edits. Although I don't want to say too much, because I don't know, if I listen back to this and I find out that I still do that, I'll be, I don't know if I feel like I've been better at it, I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. As
think
always.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
All right,
Bye.
see ya.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.